Dr. Singh, ammonium nitrate based improvised explosive devices, they were used for terror, for that curse of terror that bled us in early 2000s. Remember post Batla House encounter when one of the modules was neutralized, but despite these 2012 rules, the 2021 updated rules, just see how easily all this material can be procured even today. So who is failing here? The police, the administration? Who's asleep at the wheel, sir?
Good evening, Gaurav G. Good evening, Mr. Jain. To your simple question, I would say it's a cumulative failure. In fact, all the agencies, those who are supposed to regulate, those who are supposed to check, those who are supposed to have surveillance, nobody has done his job in a scale of 1:10. Nobody gets more than 1 out of 10. We have failed miserably, and I must compliment Nitin and Rajesh Khatri ji for coming out with a very, very sensational expose. Indeed, we are quoting the recipe of disaster, and this is nothing but unmitigated disaster. The ease with which you could procure all these items to fabricate a cute do-it-yourself bomb, well, it is a scary situation. I would say that it is not only a wake-up call, it is something that we have to put our act together and ensure that everything about these explosives, the basic bottom line is that the sale, purchase, and movement should be traceable. It is brought on GPS-enabled vehicles. It is stored within inventory control. And here you have the shopkeeper who's more than willing and eager to sell, fudge records, and pass on at a premium or a consideration. Then the mining explosives too, the ammonium nitrate, still you very rightly mentioned, the 2012 rules as also updated 2021. You can have
Yes.
any number of rules, but if they are loosely implemented and with the element of laxity and corruption, well, there is no point in having rules and laws that are not implemented faithfully and meticulously. Therefore, I would say
This is
the
very
police,
worrisome. Yes, go on, sir. Please complete your point, sir.
very much, it is very worrisome. I would say that the police and the control departments, the magistracy, they need to wake up, and the intelligence also keep a close watch and the surveillance. And you also mentioned that without any identity papers or the Aadhaar card, it was being passed off not only the ammonium nitrate, but NPK, and not much less said the better about the mining explosive. Therefore, all
Yes.
the ingredients are very much there. It is only who would like to fabricate that bomb and misuse it. Therefore, everybody has a task to do today. And then I feel that in the next 24 hours, there should be a roadmap, a blueprint, and an action plan ready so that there is no misuse of these sensitive items to
Oh,
fabricate another
absolutely.
bomb.
You know, what is very worrying, Mr. Jain, and since both of you, gentlemen, you've dealt with IEDs, we've all seen, severed limbs after an IED attack in different parts of the country, whether the pressure cooker bombs or tiffin box bombs, bombs on scooters, motorcycles, wherever they may be, it's very easy to rig them. Mr. Jain, who has failed here in your view that India Today reporters, undercover reporters, Nitin Jain and Rajesh Khatri were able to procure loose petrol, explosives, ammonium nitrate, NPK, should they have wanted ball bearings, nuts and bolts and screws in any amount? Is this the failure of the beat constable, the local chowki in charge, the SHO, the civil administration? Where would the buck stop? Because all the ministers have Z plus category securities, all the top police officers have cavalcades of security. It's the common man who's vulnerable.
Yeah, namaskar. Thank you very much, Dr. Sir. Namaskar. Sir, the problem here does not lie with the only the beat constable. Everything eventually stops with the police. Unfortunately, all these things are regulated by different regulators. We have the explosive department. It's a Government of India department which controls
Yes.
the gelatin sticks, which controls explosives per se. Then we have the local police, we have the magistracy, and for the urea, etc., we have got agriculture department. So a number of departments come into play. Now, I believe that very precious little is done on the ground to check the uninhibited use and purchase and sale of these explosives loosely available in the market and openly available in the market. I was long ago. I was deputy commissioner of police in Nagpur. That time,
Yes.
the militancy, the terrorism had struck our country very badly, and also the Naxalism, because most of our vehicles which were blown in the forest were all blown with 100 kgs of gelatin sticks buried under the ground. So we were trying to find the source of these gelatin sticks. Now, people who come to the villages to dig a well for you, the people who want to, like this gentleman Pappu, who wants to blast the rocks
Yes.
on a
In a
hill.
query.
So people
Yes.
like them, it is so easy for them to procure not only the gelatin sticks but also the primers which are used to blast them. It is easy. So suddenly find that in a small vehicle you have some 20-30 kilos of gelatin sticks, and you have all these fuses which are lying with them. So we had at that time suggested to the explosive department that you frame a policy as to how these explosives will be going to the last mile. That last mile connectivity and last mile supervision is not there. The first
Yes.
stage is there, but then from second to third, third to fourth, and the last mile user, there's no control whatsoever. That is one. Second was the gelatin and all these explosives are stored in a small unit which is outside the city. It's basically outside
Yes.
the living areas. So, which is very easy to break in, and you can have quintals and tons of this material in one heist. You can have tons of
Hmm.
this material available to any person who wants to, create havoc in this country. So, as Dr. Saab has very rightly said, it is high time that we wake up to the threat of anything. Here it is ammonium nitrate, it is urea, it is it is oil, it is petrol, which is available, and we must make an example. And let's not forget the judiciary. In most of the
Yes.
cases which were made in Maharashtra, where the guys were caught with 100, 150, 200 gelatin sticks and fuses, they were let off very easily. Within a day or two, he will procure bail and go about his business
Hmm.
again. So it was all, the police would do their job, and everything would come to naught because the guy was out on bail within a day or two. So let's not forget the entire machinery. The enforcement department, of course, is responsible, but at the same time, we must educate our prosecutors and the judges
That's an
also
interesting
not
point
to.
you make. Because the enemies of our country, they operate as a team and they operate so well. Whether there would be a doctor from Jammu and Kashmir or a doctor from Uttar Pradesh, they may not know each other earlier, but there is a common cause that seems to unite them. Whether it's
Absolutely.
radicalization at a certain mosque, Dr. Vikram Singh, or the misuse of their religion. And this is very worrisome. But are we failing as a society? Because why would a shopkeeper who knows that his own parents or his own family could be equally vulnerable the next time? Because I very strongly believe in karma. Why would he be willing to sell all of this without documentation just to make a little more money? He's making others so unsafe. So are we failing as a society? Is this lack of education, sir?
Lack of education and lack of awareness, and also a sense of duty. My esteemed colleague, Mr. PK Jain, has in fact very rightly said that the various departments that are responsible for the storage, movement, and sale and storage of these explosives, there has to be a proper coordination. And there should be a coordination at the district level to ensure that licensing, traceability, accountability, security measures, movement and tracking, and import and export restrictions are faithfully implemented. But to your first question, I think a sense of duty is also very much required. If everything is there and sense of duty is not there, we continue to sell ourselves for 13 pieces of gold. Well, that is the tragedy of the character that needs to be reinforced. That before you know what is happening, do not think that death will befall your neighbor. It can befall anyone. And more importantly, as you very said, that karma seeks and like a scud missile will hound the person who has sold off his conscience for a few pieces of gold. And therefore,
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
reinforcement of the rule of law as also educating the shopkeepers, proper surveillance material also, Gauravji.
An exemplary action. You find somebody who's guilty, the courts of law must also award exemplary punishment, because punishment is often a deterrence, if not always. Because I want our viewers to know what's the legal position on legal control of ammonium nitrate. Stay with me, gentlemen. What is the legal position on this? Now, there were rules that were brought in. First in 2012. Remember, our country's had a series of these IED blasts. When we were growing up, there was a time when you were told, look under your seat. If you see a toy, do not pick it up. It could be an IED. You see a tiffin box or a cycle, do not go close. It could be an IED, especially during festivals. So rules were brought in. There were regulations that were put in place for these tiffin bombs or scooter bombs or motorcycle bombs. When this is mixed with ammonium nitrate, the explosive now the rules are up to 30 metric tons. It needs the approval of the district magistrate to permit anything beyond 30 metric tons. Now, when you have these petroleum and safety, then again, there are other organizations. So there is the PESO that moves in. What is PESO? It is the Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. Their approvals are required. So they monitor from the stage of manufacturing to storage to transport. They're also supposed to track sales. Unfortunately, this tracking of sales is where the system is completely collapsing. Because unauthorized ANFO or ammonium nitrate fuel oil, now the possession of all of this, unless that it's with due paperwork, it is illegal. But very clearly, Mr. Jain, papers may be in place, it's on ground, it is not being followed. So in your appreciation and your, decades-long experience in dealing with this, is it impossible to check this? Look at how easily the doctors with their white lab coats and stethoscope were so easily able to illegally procure thousands of kilograms of this smuggled and brought illegally explosives, bought illegally from these stone quarries. So is it impossible to check this, sir?
It is not impossible to check. It's only that everybody has to do his job, which is asking for too much in our country, because people get away so lightly by not doing their job. A person who does his job, we say in bureaucracy, will be the guy who will be caught and hammered, because he does his job, and wherever he makes a mistake, he's caught. There are n number of people who look the other way, either for some consideration or sheer dereliction of duty, and who don't get punished. So the regulator in our system is the weakest link. It is not difficult at all. The regulator would know as to where the urea is going, and yet he turns a blind eye to the sale of this product. Well, this kind of this kind of surprise raid can be conducted on any shop by any regulator, and you send the message down by taking very strict action against one or two individuals, and the whole system corrects. I mean, I will not say the whole system, but 80-90% correction does take place. People will still keep on doing these wrong activities, but the message has to go across down the line that the action will be taken against those who are caught and who breach the law, which doesn't happen, unfortunately. So, but
And
as I said,
sadly,
if the intention, if the
go on, sir, complete your point, sir.
I said if
Mr. Jain.
the intentions are okay, if the intentions are right, then these things can be enforced very, very easily without any difficulty at all. I can vouch say that. Thank you so much.
Sir, while I completely agree with you, the way to hell is paved with good intentions, as we see in this particular case. I mean, I'm surprised, I'm shocked. We are also joined by Mr. Ranbir Sharma, former Inspector General of Haryana Police. Mr. Sharma, I'm shocked how easily IED making equipment is still so easily available in Nu, in Sonipat, in Faridabad, and so many other places, despite the Red Fort attack. We would have thought that after that, there would be tightening of screws. So are we to believe we are living Ram Bharose in India? Because when doctors and engineers, white-collar terrorists strike, we can only suffer the consequences. Prevention doesn't seem to be happening, sir.
I agree with you, because we are also all surprised that after this episode, the police should have very, very alert. And I think they have not taken the thing seriously. Agree what is happening and why these things are in the area of the Dhoj or in Nu or near Faridabad area. Actually, what happened? We in our Kisan area, wherever the farmers, they used to keep all these urea and nitrogens and all these fertilizers for their daily uses. Now these new module, it has reveals ki bhi now it can be treated in the RDX also, in explosive also. Earlier it was not known to the police also, as well as the others people also. Only few people who were knowing ki bhi these fertilizer can also be used in the explosive also. That is why the now I think after the episode, after this blast of Delhi, they must have taken very seriously all the things and all the shop.
Okay. So the question remains, at this point of time, Dr. Vikram Singh, do we need new rules? Do we need to modify existing rules? How does one ensure that, as Mr. Sharma was pointing out, that farmers are not harassed, Farmers take the material they require in the quantity they require, but terrorists don't take advantage of this.
Very true, Mr. Gaurav. I would say that my esteemed panelists have made very pertinent points, but how to ensure that? There are any number of rules and laws, but faithful implementation of the rules of law also needs to be ensured. It is good to have small number of rules that are faithfully implemented than to have large number of rules that are loosely implemented. The problem is that all the speakers have mentioned that the implementation of laws and rules needs to be reinforced, surprise checks, inventory control, and also the mandatory surveillance has to be there so that the movement to the ultimate destination is tracked, identity papers are taken up, the surveillance and the inspections should be meaningful and not just by way of just doing it for the sake of doing them. Therefore, I would say that the inspections, the coordination between various agencies, as Mr. PK Jain has very lucidly explained, that needs to be ensured. And a test surveillance and a test drive and a test also of a mock purchase of these explosives needs to be done so as to see the ground reality, whether anything has changed in the 10-15 days or we are back to square one and have learned nothing from the tragedy.
You know, our investigation would lead you to believe that nothing really has changed on ground. The ease with which our reporters, and imagine these are reporters, they're not either going there with an evil intention or have a bomb-making plot like those radical Islamist terrorists, that module of doctors did. But imagine how easy is it to procure all this material. So what is, as many have asked us, what is ANFO or ammonium nitrate fuel oil? These bombs, as experts tell us, it's basically 94% ammonium nitrate and about 6% fuel oil. Fertilizer is a very strong oxidizer, but it doesn't explode on its own. So it needs not just a fuel oil mix, but it also needs a detonator, some explosive that will set it off, ensure that there's very high energy, high heat that would trigger a massive explosion. That is how these IEDs are rigged to perform. And stronger, the bigger the detonator, the more powerful the blast, depends on the kind of fuel oil that's been used. And terrorists in the past, and unfortunately, we've seen the deadly impact in the cases that we've reported in the past. They use ball bearings and nuts and bolts and screws because the intensity with which these ball bearings then shoot out in multiple directions, and if they pierce your eye, your forehead, your chest, your hands, the screws that pierce your body, they're like thousands of bullets flying in every direction. And Dr. Vikram Singh, this is what makes these IEDs extremely dangerous, sadly extremely easy to rig. In your view, if you were to give a solution, what would that solution be? 3 actionable points.
I would say there are no shortcut solutions or cut and dried solutions, but the fact you very rightly mentioned, all of us have been privy to the fact that purchase of ball bearings, sharpeners, nails, nuts and bolts, that should not go without being in the cognizance of the police department. Secondly, the sale and purchase to be regulated, and anything, there's a thing known as SARS, Suspicious Activity Reporting System, that every police station needs to say who is buying fertilizer in large quantities, storing them without and trying to conceal his identity, moving into a destination and does not have the appropriate length and breadth of his farmhouse, so that it is unnatural for a person to store ammonium nitrate or other fertilizer that is not commensurate to his land holding, as also purchase of simultaneously ball bearing, sharpeners, nails, and other such material, and also the criminal antecedents of those, and also if the facial recognition software is used as along with AI, I feel we would have done a good job, not fail-proof, not foolproof, but to a very great extent, I think we should have done a reasonably satisfactory job to contain and mitigate this malady.
Mr. Jain, use of artificial intelligence, that plays a much bigger role when there's more automation. Your appreciation, the way forward, the solutions, given the constraints the police and the administration work under?
See, I think in all the entire scenario, the intelligence collection plays an extremely important role, and quick action, on the spot action. See, in this particular case, if the concerned SP there in J&K would not have been alive to the situation and would not have sent his team to probe around as to who was putting these posters, of boycotting or taking action against threatening the security forces there, Had he not taken that action, probably this entire module would not have been exposed. And after
True.
that, the kind of and after that, the gathering of intelligence. There are, for every blast that has taken place, a blast has taken place in the capital after I don't know how many years. So now there are 1,000 other blasts which have been prevented by only intelligence collection and taking action on the actionable intelligence. So I think along with what Dr. Vikram Singh has said, gathering of intelligence, making that agency extremely strong and having the latest technology possible is another one of the areas which the system can look at.
Mr. Sharma, as former Inspector General of the Haryana Police, and you know the constraints Haryana Police works under, your view of the problem and the solution. How does one improve the system to prevent the next IED from being rigged together? Because this is colossal. While intelligence success in J&K, it's total intelligence failure in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. The manner in which these doctors were able to operate in and around Al-Falah University, it just shows police, they were walking with their eyes wide shut, sir.
देखो गौरव जी, मैं दो तीन बातें आपसे बीच में जोड़ना चाहूंगा। सबसे
जी,
पहला
जरूर।
तो का मॉड्यूल हमारे पास आया है, ये बड़ा सरप्राइजिंग था कि ना तो पुलिस और ना ही पब्लिक इसके ऊपर कोई शक करती है, नंबर वन। नंबर डॉक्टर के साथ जो फर्टिलाइजर यूज हुआ है, नाइट्रोजन्स और दूसरा एक्सप्लोसिव बनाने के लिए यूज हुआ है, वो भी ना ही किसानों के लिए था और ना ही पुलिस के लिए था। तीसरा जो अभी बात सामने आ रही है इंटेलिजेंस की, इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर जरूर रहा है, क्योंकि 7 तारीख को जिस दिन फरीदाबाद के अंदर ये लड़का पकड़ा गया है आदिल, और इसके बाद ये फरीदाबाद में आ गए हैं, इसके बाद पुलिस की जो चूक हुई है और खासकर दिल्ली पुलिस की जो चूक हुई है दोनों की, कि भी उन्होंने सारी पुलिस को अलर्ट नहीं किया और वो दिल्ली के अंदर बम ब्लास्ट हो गया। जहां तक अगला जो पॉइंट है सुरक्षा का, वो मेन पॉइंट यही है कि भी आपको नंबर एक सबसे पहले जो है ना, आपका जो सिविल अथॉरिटी है जहां से ये सप्लाई होता है, वहां पे डिटरेंट बनाना पड़ेगा कि कौन आदमी है, किस लिए क्यों ले रहा है। यहाँ पे नंबर एक तो ये लगाना पड़ेगा। नंबर दो, उनके जो इंस्पेक्टर जो सिविल सर्विसेज है उनको चेकिंग के लिए डालना पड़ेगा कि भी आपके पास से जो चीज जा रही है बगैर लाइसेंस और बगैर अथॉरिटी के, जैसे डॉक्टर की प्रिस्क्रिप्शन के बगैर वो कोई चीज वहां नहीं यूज हो सकती दुकानों के ऊपर, उसी प्रकार से उसको नहीं करना चाहिए। तीसरी बात, अब पुलिस के लिए ये बहुत ही सेंसिटिव मामला हो गया है कि जब भी इस प्रकार की जो दुकानें हैं उनकी लगातार चेकिंग रहेगी। नंबर दो, जो खासकर जो अपना व्हाइट कॉलर जो क्राइम डॉक्टर का आया है उसको लगातार चेकिंग में रखना पड़ेगा, और इस प्रकार की जो यूनिवर्सिटी और मदरसे और मस्जिदें हैं वहां पे भी लगातार पुलिस की चेकिंग होनी पड़ेगी, तभी जाके ये डिटरेंट हो पाएगा। नहीं तो फिर कोई ना कोई धमाका किसी वक्त भी आ सकता है। पुलिस को चौकन्ना रहने की बहुत ही सख्त और सख्त जरूरत है।
आपने एक बहुत बड़ी बात की और उसी पर लेट मी ब्रिंग इन मिस्टर जैन एंड डॉक्टर विक्रम सिंह। मिस्टर जैन, the Naugam Masjid, where these young doctors were allegedly radicalized, was that failure of intelligence that if so many doctors were being radicalized over a period of time, the Maulvi was arrested much later, and that was after, as you very rightly pointed out, the beat constable and then the SP found out about who were putting up these posters. But should there be a closer scrutiny on these madrasas and masjids, sir?
See, unfortunately, my experience has been that it's a very closed door kind of a thing. It is not that easy to penetrate what is going on, at a religious place or a madrasa or a mosque, for the simple reason that after you see most of the riots take place after the Friday namaz. And the kind of takrir that is made there in the masjid at that point of time, which infuriates and which instigates a lot of people to come out on the road and start some kind of a riot, it always happens mostly on Friday. And it is in a closed group. It's so penetrating that group can only be technologically done. Individuals, it is extremely impossible. We've tried it many times. It doesn't happen. So technologically, it has to be done that we somehow get into their system and find out as to what exactly are they planning to do. Otherwise, a few individuals meeting in a hospital, meeting in a mosque, meeting in a madrasa, it does not draw the kind of attention that that everybody expects the police to do. I mean, it's an unfortunate scenario, but it's a fact of life. It's the ground reality. So I think we have to find ways and means of cracking this kind of a thing, now somebody carrying two sacks of ammonium nitrate in a house
Yes.
and making 10 trips over a period of time, it doesn't draw anybody's attention. We become so objective to the people living next door. We don't even bother
Yes.
who's doing what. So now in this kind of a scenario, expecting the police to crack that 3,000 kilos of ammonium nitrate was collected,
Okay.
it is too much. It is too much to expect. But yes, intelligence has to be gathered, action has to be taken, and once we get the intelligence, then the
Yes.
teams have to move very, very fast, and they have to be
Oh,
extremely quick in
absolutely. And it
taking
has to be
action.
done without fear or favor, irrespective of people who may cry phobia of any religion. India must very emphatically say this is not phobia of any religion. The only effort, Dr. Vikram Singh, is go after terrorists, and terror has no religion, so there is no question of any phobia. Evidence-based prosecution and the harshest possible action against the guilty should be the only rule to be followed, irrespective of what an enabling ecosystem may say. Dr. Vikram Singh, the last 30 seconds on this part of the show, sir.
Well said, Gaurav ji. India first, always and every time. And to that extent, I would say that cultivation of sources to gather information from mass and the Friday khutbahs is perfectly doable. I have two very esteemed and seasoned and experienced co-panelists, and they would bear me out. Where there is a will, there is a way. Get the informers, get the information, and get the sources, develop sources. And when you have actionable intelligence, that is the game changer. And I'm sure wherever there is a success story, there is an informer, and every khutbah that is vitriolic and that is menacing or malicious, that has to be informed to the district officers. And then you take preemptive action and also take precautions so that nothing disastrous ever happens. It is
Oh,
perfectly
absolutely.
doable.
Go
And
after
I'm
those who give these takreers. Those who give these takreers. You have that on video. Take action against them, produce them in courts of law, and lock them up for as long as possible, as long as law permits them.